Good morning, my dear students. Today I am going to explain you the first chapter of democratic politics. What is democracy? Why democracy? Students, this chapter builds on a simple definition of democracy. Step by step, we work out the meaning of the terms involved in this definition. The aim here is to understand clearly the bare minimum feature of a democratic form of government. After going through this chapter, we would be able to distinguish a democratic form of government from a non-democratic government. Towards the end of this chapter, we step beyond this minimal objective and introduce a broader idea of democracy. Now, students, democracy is a form of government where people has the power to choose his or her representative. Then the representative will form the government and make policy on the behalf of the people according to the powers and functions given by the Constitution. People also have the power to remove the representative if they are not functioning his or her duty properly. Now, students, a simple definition of democracy. We will start with a simple definition. Democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. This definition allows us to separate democracy from forms of government that are clearly not democratic. This simple definition is not adequate. It reminds us that democracy is people's rule. But if we use this definition in an unthinking manner, we would end up calling almost every government that holds an election a democracy. That would be very misleading. That is why we need to carefully distinguish between a government that is a democracy and one that pretends to be one. We can do so by understanding each word in this definition carefully and spelling out the features of the democratic government. Now, students, we have started with a simple definition that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. Now, students, this raises many questions. Who are the rulers? What kind of election? Who are the people? What kind of form of government? Now, first, who are the rulers? Who are the rulers in this definition? Which official must be elected for any government to be called a democracy? Which decisions may be taken by non-elected officers in a democracy? Second, what kind of election? What kind of election constitute a democratic election? What conditions must be fulfilled for an election to be considered democratic? Third, who are the people? Who are the people who can elect the rulers or get elected as rulers? Should this include every citizen on an equal basis? Can a democracy deny some citizens this right? Last, what kind of form of government? Finally, what kind of form of government is democracy? Can elected ruler do whatever they want in a democracy? Or must a democratic government functions with some limits? Is it necessary for a democracy to respect some rights of the citizens? Now, let us consider each of these questions with the help of some example. Students, We will find out answers of these questions by taking example from different country one by one. Now, major decisions by elected leaders. This is one of the feature of democracy. A democratic government is one in which the people's representatives participate in decision making process. They own a collective responsibility for all the decisions taken by the government. There are examples where representatives of peoples are chosen but they are not allowed to participate in decision making process. This happen in many dictatorships and monarchy form of government. Now students, this we will understand with the help of one example. We will see the case study from Pakistan where the government do not take collective responsibility for all the decision taken, where representative of people are chosen but they are not allowed to participate in decision making process. Now students, major decisions by elected leaders. We study with the help of case study. In Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. He overthrew a democratically elected government and declared himself the chief executive of the country. Later, he changed his designation to president, and in 2002, he held a referendum in the country that granted him a 5-year extension. Now, students, what does referendum mean? Referendum is a direct vote in which an entire electorate is asked to either accept or reject a particular proposal. This may be adoption of new constitution, a law, or a specific governmental policy. Now, in August 2002, he issued a legal framework order that amended the Constitution of Pakistan according to his order. The President can dismiss the National or Provisional Assembly. The work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by a National Security Council which is dominated by military officers. And the final power rests with the military officers and General Musharraf himself. Now, student, during his rule, although people may have elected their representative to the national and provisional assemblies, but those elected representatives are not really the rulers. They cannot take the final decision. The power to take final decisions rests with army officers and with General Musharraf, and none of them are elected by the people. Now students, this cannot be called the people's rule. This gives us the first feature. In a democracy, the final decisions making power must rest with those elected by the people. Thank you, students.